Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Curious Owlbear, and I'm here to explore everything Dungeons & Dragons. Before we hop into today's video, I want to briefly mention that I had the opportunity to play through the Essentials Kit adventure, The Dragon of Icespire Peak, with several other awesome content creators. I played my first Bard character, and it was a ton of fun. If you'd like to check it out, there's a link to the playlist in the description. But today, the players have made their way to the nearest capital city or large town. Though they feel safe inside the city walls, we have a few tricks for them. Let's dive in. The players make their way down long dirt streets lined with wooden stalls and narrow leaning buildings. They round a corner and come upon a crowd gathering around one of these wooden abodes. Black smoke rises high into the air, and the onlookers are shouting in distress. As the players approach, they hear a mother shout that her son is still trapped inside the building. Now, this may be my favorite random encounter of all time because I experienced it as a player. My lawful good paladin came upon the scene and immediately burst into action. I was able to get inside the building, fight through the smoke, locate the boy, get him untrapped, and lure him to the crowd below. Just as I was about to jump out though, I heard a meow from behind me and was forced to run right back into the burning building to try to save the cat. Now, I love this type of random encounter because it really forces your players to act upon their own alignment. The city docks are always busy, but the players don't have to spend too long by the water before they come upon Jimmy. Jimmy's a 13-year-old kid who has been working on the docks for most of his life. He pays attention to the comings and goings of vessels in the harbor, as well as listening for rumors that spread through the city. If your players engage in conversation with Jimmy, he will always be willing to offer information that he's collected in exchange for a small amount of coin. I tend to love to use innocent NPCs like this because my players tend to believe the information they get, even if it only turns out to be rumors. The NPC Jimmy comes from the Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign that I ran my players through, and he was the perfect NPC for spreading the dock rumors that appear in that manual. As the party makes their way through the outskirts of the city, they notice a cleric standing on a shipping crate as he addresses a small crowd. The party gets within earshot, beginning to make out the desperate sermon pleading for the public to stay away from the dangers in the city slums. Now, these dangers can be whatever you need them to be. Perhaps the Assassin's Guild has been more active in recent times, or a new alcoholic beverage turns out to be addictive, or the cleric could just take issue with the scanty nature of current fashion. This type of random encounter offers you the opportunity to introduce your players to some of the main threads in your city. It also provides you the opportunity to give your players a little bit more information about a particular deity through the eyes of the cleric. The party brushes past the cleric, continuing into the outskirts of the city when a light rain starts to fall. They maneuver through broken down wooden carts, rickety shacks, and decaying structures until the keen eye in the group spots a large demonic rune on the side of a building. The rune is elevated off the main thoroughfare, but a detect magic spell will tell the group that this rune is not magical. So the group may decide to return at a later time to investigate. Upon returning, the group finds that the rune has disappeared without a trace. In reality, this rune has been painted with invisible ink, which becomes visible only when it rains. I enjoy this type of random encounter because it may take your group a little bit of investigating to come to the correct conclusion, though it likely will not slow down your sessions too much. The correct conclusion can again be whatever you want it to be. Perhaps it is an ancient rune left by a warlock coven, or it could be a small part of a much larger demonic ritual. But if your group struggles to get the rune to reappear, it can always magically just start raining. As the party crosses the bridge spanning the river that runs through the city, they spot a human woman, obviously distressed. They see that she is seated with her legs dangling over the edge of the bridge, her head held in her hands as she weeps. If the party engages her in conversation, she will almost be too distraught to communicate at first. She will calm slightly over time and tell the group her story. Her husband was a member of the city guard who was recently killed in the line of duty, and she has not been able to find any work within the city to support herself. Now, you may have noticed that many of the random encounters on this channel are fairly upbeat in tone, but I do like to utilize some darker tones to bring a little more realism to my fictional worlds. In this particular example, my players immediately latched on and felt empathetic towards this NPC. They spent a lot of time and energy introducing her to all of the shopkeepers and innkeepers that they've come across during their travels. They were eventually able to find her some work, and now this NPC is my player's first stop whenever they return to the city. As the party makes their way down the long thoroughfare, they pass a cramped, disorganized wizard shop. Inside is a male tabaxi, garbed in dark robes dotted with shining stars, who is busy frantically searching his shop. He upturns books and scrolls as he gets increasingly frustrated and takes almost no notice of the party until they make themselves known. After exchanging some hasty pleasantries, the tabaxi will tell the group that he has misplaced his spellbook. He's willing to pay for the party's help in finding the book, but it's up to you as the DM to decide how difficult this task will be. Now, I like this type of encounter as it can again introduce your players to some of the main threads in your city. It also introduces them to what could be a main character in the Shopkeeper, as he could offer the players a discount, or perhaps teach the party's wizard a few new spells. A long day of traveling has left the party weary and hungry. They make their way to the inn of their choice, where an unfamiliar bard plays a melancholy tune. The innkeeper serves the party, who takes a table in plain view of the performer. The song continues for several minutes as it builds into a dramatic crescendo and resolves amid strong applause. However, since the party became invested in the song, they may fall prey to a local thief who happens to be working with the performing bard. This is always a fun encounter because it's up to your party to decide how to handle the situation if the thief is successful in his ploy. They may chase after the thief and take him down in a straightforward combat encounter, or they may choose to search for more information about him. There are a ton of possibilities here, and I love handing my players situations in which they can creatively use their skills to solve a problem. Plus, these are the types of hijinks that DMs need to deal with all the time, so why not turn the tables on your players for once? As your party spends more time in the city, the characters will become more familiar to many of the resident NPCs. One day, a rival adventurer will contact the party for help in removing a threat beneath the city streets. He tells a riveting story of a group of undead horrors who he barely escaped, with two of his fellow adventurers having fallen in the sewers. If the party allows the adventurer to lead them into the sewers, he will soon find an opportunity to disappear into the shadows, leaving the party to explore the rest of the area. They move on down the tunnel, coming to a small room containing several wine barrels. If they investigate the barrels, one of them springs to life, its tongue stretching out in an attempt to grapple a character. Now, what set of random city encounters would be complete without a mimic? They are one of the most creative and interesting creatures in the game, in my opinion. If you don't like wine barrels, the mimic could be a treasure chest, a kingly throne, a mirror on the wall, or even a simple rock. The possibilities are again endless with this monster, so go wild. The party, now well known in the city, has attracted the attention of another group of adventurers. These NPCs seem to take serious offense to the party, often showing up around the group to hurl effective insults at the players, or doing their best to foil the party's plans. After a few days or weeks of this behavior, the party may become a little perturbed with these rival adventurers. Their foes are difficult to trace, but eventually the party is able to follow them to a decrepit, seemingly abandoned structure in the outskirts of the city. If the party makes their way inside, they will be attacked by the doppelgangers. The doppelganger is a great shapeshifter that has the ability to detect thoughts. Using this ability, they may be able to figure out what the party is planning, how best to insult them, or learn about the party's fighting style. While shapeshifted, they are difficult to discover, though they will clearly mistreat all other creatures. Again, there are a ton of possibilities with this creature, so don't feel limited to using the doppelganger as a rival adventurer. In the words of a new friend of mine, it's your game, play your way. And that does it for today's urban explorations. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe and like, as it really helps my channel reach more people. Until next time, stay curious, adventurers.